Well, we obviously got your record, I don't know, a month or so ago. And I was out walking one afternoon doing my research, listening to the tracks. And I will say that Living Color stopped me in my tracks. And I always call it my backup songs where I'm walking or I'm riding down the road or what have you. And I listen to a record and then I hit the back button because I want to hear it again, my backup songs.
Yep.
This was a backup song for me.
Wow.
Made me emotional just listening to it. Obviously, there has to be a story there, so I want to hear about it.
Yep.
But I think, Steven, the part that obviously the story was beautiful, but at the end, the honesty, when you say, I'm even nervous to even sing about this or tell about this, I appreciated that because, I mean, obviously the world has changed.
Yeah.
And a lot of us are looking at things and trying to look at things differently and seeing if there's scales over our eyes that perhaps need to go.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you were in this tension where it's like, can we ever really be honest? Because it just feels like there's narratives that happen. So all that to say, I appreciate the courageousness to write about this, but I want to hear the story.
Yeah.
And then for you to even say at the end that you're nervous, because I would be nervous too, because sometimes you don't know what to say and you don't want to say the wrong thing.
Say it wrong. Yeah. And I know you guys in the world you live in, you're always more now than ever afraid to say something that's going to,
with all the divisions.
Either be further dividing or offensive.
You just feel like you're walking on eggshells these days, honestly.
Absolutely. And honestly, I started writing the song Living Color probably 20 years ago. I had the idea for this song, and I wrote a version of it. Didn't finish it, but it had probably a verse and a chorus. I remember sitting in Peter York's office when I was recording for Sparrow Records, and gosh, I mean, seriously, this probably we could have been talking about like Heaven in the Real World record or somewhere all the way back there. And I had this idea, but it wasn't finished, and it just didn't feel like, the time was right. But it was an idea about my best friend in 7th grade, Carlton Bell, and played drums together, and we were best buddies. We were in the marching band, and true story. I mean, we got when I was in 7th grade, our Heath Middle School marching band got invited to come march in the Disney parade at Walt Disney World, and they let bands. I don't know if they still do it or not, but they let little local bands from all over. So we got picked. Your little whatever, and you can get picked to actually march in the parade. So we got picked. So we went on this long campaign to raise the money. We're a bunch of out in the farms of Western Kentucky, and so we went up and down the street selling those world's finest chocolate bars, that we would sell to raise money, the little campaign, and we went to Disney World. First time I rode Space Mountain was with Carlton Bell. First time I ever saw the Magic Kingdom, any of that was with my buddy Carlton, and then he moved away after it was literally we were kind of best friends for a year or two, and then the next year he moved away, and that was before cell phones and Facebook and all the kind of technology. So we just didn't stay in touch, and I never really knew what happened to Carlton Bell, and I started the idea, and then it didn't finish it, and didn't for whatever reason come together. Well, fast forward, then go through this pandemic, then all the division and so much starts to happen in our world politically and then racially. And like so many of us, I'm just trying to respond in a way that's, that just is the most responsible, thoughtful response of I have this platform, I have this opportunity to speak into it, but I'm so afraid of saying the wrong thing or saying it in a way. So I one night called some buddies of mine together and sat around my fire pit here right outside of the studio where we're sitting, and had my sons, some of their buddies who are black, had some just guys that I knew, some that I didn't know, and I said I want to sit around and I just want to listen, and I want to hear from some of my brothers who are black, who have lived a very different life than I've lived, and maybe I've just never even really considered it and never listened, and so we did, and that night, and conversations that came then from that sort of stirred this story back up for me to say, I really want to write this song about my best friend. And yet, I'm really scared now more than ever to do it because I don't want to, I just don't want to do it wrong. I don't want to, say it from my perspective and stir anything that would be more hurtful than helpful. And yet I kept hearing so many, particularly, those who, are brothers or sisters, that were black say, it's particularly that night, just so many of them that would say, it's really, we just given the opportunity to have a conversation and maybe just to have the opportunity to say our experience has been different and different growing up in where we have it. And guys talking that night that are just dear friends and say, but when police lights come on behind us and we pull over, there's something different going on in what our experience of that. And it was one of the first times where I just really felt like, just by listening to them talk about that, it stirred me really deeply. And I started thinking about my friend Carlton, and I started thinking about I want to tell the story, just the sweetness and the beauty of that story. And yet in the true story, it prompted me to go, well, I'm going to try to figure out, I've got technology now, I'm going to try to find out what happened to Carlton. And I started doing some research, and I'm spoiler if you hadn't heard the song, but you'll hear it in the song. I basically just tell exactly what happened. I went and did some research about my memories of my friend, and first thing that popped up was a picture of him as a grown man, and immediately I saw his smile, but it was the smile of my buddy Carlton Bell when we were riding Space Mountain, but it was his obituary, and he had passed away, and in 2016, and it went on to talk about his family and that he had he'd followed Jesus, and it's different comments that were being made about he was a faithful in his church, and then it just looking at his face as a grown man started just to me to imagine what was his journey like. That was very different from mine. And so I got to the final kind of verse of the song, and I honestly didn't know if I'd record it. I played that song for more people saying, can I record this song or not? Should I record it? I played it for my kids. I played it for my daughters, Shoei, as very, as a college student now, and in all of the times that we are living in where, especially, she's thinking a lot about and having a lot of conversations in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, as an Asian, who looks very different and has experienced some really hard things, even being, of a different skin color and being different. And I played it for her. I said, what do you think? Should I record this? And she and many others said, you've got to. You have to record it. Wow. But I did say in that last verse, I thought, if I'm going to write this song, I'm gonna say what I'm feeling. If I'm honest, I'm afraid to even write and sing this song because I don't want to say the wrong thing.
That's right.
But I also think there's a danger in that, and I think my friends who are black would say, and did say, that's the beautiful story of friendship, because I didn't even in my at that point in my life, I didn't see Carlton Bell, and he was a friend. And I say in the song, in the lyric, his skin was black, my skin was white, but all I saw was we were friends in each other's eyes. That's who we were.
Yeah, so beautiful. We're gonna play it here in 2 seconds. Do you think Carlton ever knew? You think he ever knew that was his childhood friend, Steve Chapman, was Steven Curtis Chapman? You think he ever put it together?
I really don't know. He moved. I know he moved away to Arizona early. It's funny. His grandmother, my mom reminded me of this. His grandmother took care of me in the church nursery. Okay. Bertie Bell was his grandmother, and she actually held me when I was a baby in the church nursery.
Wow.
So she, of course, has long since passed away as well. So I don't really have any any connection or any way to know if he would have ever even connected it and known that was his his 7th grade snare drum buddy in the marching band.
People in Arizona do know who you are.
Okay. Yeah, that has my music.
Yes, your fame has spread far and wide, even to Arizona.
When this story gets out, I don't know. I don't feel like this story's done yet. I think you're going to hear from one of his kids or maybe his.
That would be very special.
In the best case scenario, it will help some healing to happen for people, even with the divisions we're talking about.
Yeah.
Yep.